You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and good morning, Blazer Nation. I am so happy and so very grateful this morning to kick off this February 1st of 2021, the first day of Black History Month here in the United States. And wherever you are, I ask that you raise a cup of coffee or your favorite tea. Or, it's COVID time, so no judgment if it's something a little bit stronger. But today we are celebrating the Trailblazers.fm podcast, as today is our 5th birthday. Trailblazers got accepted and we were published. We were first published on Apple Podcast back on February 1st of 2016. And I had no idea whether it would succeed or it would fail. But that's the beauty of being a creator, right? And if you're joining us for the very first time, I just want to say thank you so very much. And if you're here for the 221st time, thank you as well. I'm so blessed to have been able to share over 220 episodes over these past 5 years with listeners now, I believe, in 145 countries around the world. And that's still mind-blowing every time I say that. The idea for Trailblazers was one that came to me in the early parts of 2015. And at the time, my daughter, my first crumb snatcher, was about 4 or 5 years old, and no different than it is now. Mainstream media lacked representation of Black success beyond athletes and musicians. And, I'd look at my own sphere, my own peers, 15 years or so out of college. At that point, they were doing amazing things in their respective fields, the things that they were passionate about doing. I began meeting people. I'm here in Maryland. I live in the DMV. And I'd come across, other professionals in daycare and in my community and in my network who were crushing it as well in leadership, in entrepreneurship, and in other creative fields. And no one was telling their story. And that's where the story got life, if you will. But if I took credit for what's happened since that day, I'd be lying to you. So I wanted today, to share this 5th birthday milestone with a few very, very important people in my sphere. So join me in welcoming a group here of friends, Minda Harts, Annette Richards, Shawn Dove, and I'm hoping my good brother, Donald Kelly, will be able to join us as well. So good morning.
Good morning. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy anniversary. Happy Black History.
Love it. So allow me to introduce these 4 people in a way that, most people don't, and weave it into the story of Trailblazers, right? First, I'm going to talk about Donald, and hopefully he'll be able to hop in here in a little bit. But just give me a second here. I want to expand this so I can see. Actually, Donald is here. Let me try and get him added to this stream. BK, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good stuff.
All right.
So appreciate you all being here. This is a special day, special milestone for so many reasons, right? And you each had a part to play. I wanted to start things off and share this moment, today with one of the most humble people that would end up being one of the most instrumental people nudging me to plant the seed for Trailblazers in the ground. Donald and I met on Twitter. I believe, at first, initially, as the creative I am, right? Trailblazers isn't the first idea of a podcast that I had. And I initially thought, you know what? I'm going to start a sales-based podcast. And at the time, I was reading this book by Jeffrey Gitomo. And, I start doing some research. And I stumbled on this other Jamaican guy on Twitter who interviewed Gitomo on like his first or second interview. And I'm going to embarrass you, Donald, and tell everybody to go and listen to that.
Oh, boy.
Right? But, we connected and I just, I sum it up to God, right? Because we continued to connect. We became good friends. And Donald, not only guided me through how to set up a podcast, he was so kind to be the first guest on episode 1 of Trailblazers back in December 2015, and was able to keep me calm in my nerves, going wild in the Christmas of 2015. And so I thank God for you bringing, me into this world of podcasting, and I'm so grateful for you, my brother.
Oh man, I am grateful that I was that day when I saw that Twitter message come through and we're just sitting there chatting, because there is like just seeing the growth of Trailblazer and the inspiration it's been to me and to my family and the friends around us. I'm glad that you took the courage. We may have planted seed, but there was a gardener, and that gardener was you who tilled the ground, and you had to go and get the fence and put the fence around it, and you nourished it, and look where it's become. And I'm just like grateful that that all of us would be able to see what you did with it, because you and I both know many people have ideas, and that's one of the things I talked about in that first episode, is that so many people have ideas, but they're not willing to act on it. And you're one of those people you're an actor. You get up and you make it, and the world is a better place because of it. I mean, I don't say that just to be frivolous. I think there's so many people whose sights and vision have been risen to see what's possible. So again, I'm humbled.
Love it. So about 6 weeks into launching the podcast, I got on a Twitter rabbit hole one night, and I'm checking out different people. Who do I want to interview? Who do I want to partner with? Who do I want to connect with? And I come across this guy named Shawn Dove. And about an hour or so after that, I get this Twitter DM that says something to the effect of, "Man, I've been looking for this podcast for about 6 months. And if I didn't find it, I was thinking I was going to have to create it myself." And since that day, Shawn Dove has become, one of my dearest brothers, a trusted friend, a big champion for everything that Trailblazers has been able to accomplish to that point. So in addition to, all the amazing things that Shawn has been able to do, he is the world's greatest, and I know all of you going to agree with me on this, but he's the world's greatest Black excellence connector, right? I've met so many amazing Trailblazers by way of Shawn, and one of the people that Shawn introduced me to is none other than Minda Harts, and that was probably about 4 years ago now, right?
Yep.
And our last member of this panel is Annette Richards, and I don't think anyone understands when I say this podcast didn't happen without Annette. I remember Annette and I probably met on Twitter as well, right? Back in maybe early 2017, and then over the months that followed, I remember I put up promotional posts on a Monday morning. And then I'd open Twitter, and Annette's posts would be better than mine. And after that happened for a couple of months, I was like, Annette, let's talk about this, because clearly you're way better at seeing a different angle to the very episode she was consuming at 5 o'clock on a Monday morning, and would have notes up before we got up. So and God bless Annette, you've been so instrumental in helping me I think from back in probably October 2017.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a show notes. Many Sunday nights, at the nth hour, Annette and I are working out those episodes. So while I'm the voice you hear, all of you have been instrumental. And as timing would have it, I actually have somebody who's been on every episode who's never been seen. And she came back to make a quick cameo. This is my wife, Kristen Hart.
Hey, Kristen, how are you?
Well, thank you. I never know where to look. Sorry.
You're good. Just look at everybody. So, many people on right here know, and many people in Blazer Nation know, but Kristen's been on every episode because she's the person that's read the jingle for Trailblazers from day one. So,
It's a mom and pop shop.
A mom and pop shop.
Mhm.
So, appreciate you for putting up with me over 5 years.
It was a task.
So, we are, even today, it's snowing outside and we have the chaos of kids at home in the middle of COVID and trying to manage everything. Anything you want to share with Blazer Nation on our 5th birthday?
5th birthday. And there's the dog. Just thank you for your support over the last 5 years. I know that it's definitely been a journey, and many of you have been on the entire journey where others have, come along at different steps, and we just appreciate you, and all of this is in service of you. So just thank you, just gratitude, and gratitude to everyone who's on the panel, because you have played different roles in shaping Stephen and even who he is and his journey, not being American by birth, his journey, even if I think back to when we started dating, I mean, your knowledge and appreciation for what it is to be just Black in America has tremendously changed. And I think it's just broadened to a much more just wide perspective. And so thank you for everyone who has listened and watched, and thank you to everyone on the panel for helping to, and all past guests, to helping to shape, the thing for helping to shape just even who he is.
Thank you.
Love you, honey.
I'm not going any further.
So,
man, good choice. You married wisely.
Yeah.
Stephen.
Appreciate you guys. So together, as Kristen just echoed, you guys have all, and Kristen, we have a little dog here who's just tracking behind her. So she came back to snatch him. You guys have each, you've enabled me, you've encouraged me, you've empowered me, you've given me confidence, right? When I would try something that would fail and, trying a different angle. And this past 4th year has been by far the hardest of the 5. We had COVID. I had my dad's health. Kristen was furloughed. Kristen had a crazy, freak injury, and just COVID, right? Just the year of 2020. But each of you, whether it was you'd send me a text message or hit me up in WhatsApp and nudge me and say, hey, let's get back to this, right? Let's get through it, but let's get back to it. So, to me, you guys each represent Black excellence in so many ways. And so I wanted to just pause for a second, stop talking, and ask you all this question. What does Black excellence mean to you guys? And so maybe I'll kick things off with Shawn.
Wow, thank you, and good morning, Stephen, and congratulations. Honored to be here, and I think that Black excellence means that it's a cliche that we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. I think it's a cliche for a reason. I think Black excellence is knowing your history and the sacrifice and the tribulation and the pain that our ancestors have overcome, and with that there comes a responsibility, right? And I think that Black excellence is really understanding and knowing what your gifts are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and sharing that with the world, right? And I think Black excellence is really about community, right? And as you let your light, individual light shine, you give others an opportunity to shine their light, right? And I think Black excellence is also about persistence. It's about perseverance. It's about getting your butt kicked, getting knocked down, but also getting back up, right? And the last thing that I will say is that Black excellence is our ability as Black folks to see excellence in each other. As I see excellence in you, it allows me to see more excellence in me. So that's my snapshot of Black excellence this morning.
I love it. Annette.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Stephen, for having me and for allowing me to celebrate in this wonderful moment, our 5th anniversary. It has been a pleasure to be a part of this journey. I think I get more out of it than you do, because as you know, I say that Trailblazers has become a part of my religion, and I do mean that. It's a part of my day, my week, my month that I look forward to. Black excellence to me means that as Black people, we are thriving and excelling and doing our best in spite of. If we're to be honest, we've had the brick stacked against us in so many ways, and it's like known worldwide. However, in spite of that, we thrive. In spite of that, we excel. In spite of that, we celebrate also our history. And we use that as fuel to do our best, regardless of the environment that we find us in. And that's why I think, Stephen, you can even say, for example, you're Jamaican, but you have like 10 jobs or 12 or 15. It's in our nature to do best. And that's what I think Black excellence is. We can make lemonade out of lemon.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
DK.
Man, I don't know if I can say anything else based on what these folks are saying. They hit it all straight out of the park. I'm looking. Sorry, I'm not on camera today. I woke up this morning. I wish I could show you all, but looked like I got into a fight. But for me though, when I think about the idea of excellence, I mean, I even had to make sure I was watching this thing on Dr. King last night, and on HBO. And one of the things that just come to mind when I think of excellence is just the straight definition, right? The quality of being outstanding or extremely good, like extremely good. And that's saying, the idea of multiple jobs or having the odds stacked against us and being able to come in to do that and do what we have done. I mean, think about it, man. If you really think about the Black history and from slavery and from, colonialism and from all that has been taken away, like what we have been able to accomplish and the vision of what we can accomplish and still yet will accomplish. I mean, that's for me, that's like Black excellence, like just seeing what our folks and our people have done and looking at my family, what my mom has done and, my dad and so forth. For me, that it's a strive to be or to accomplish that level of extreme goodness and to bring that into the world, not to diminish anybody else or any other race or people, but it's just a simple fact that we as Black people have more or are capable of doing a lot more. And I don't know, I feel like we're scratching the surface on our potential as a people.
Wow.
Just scratching the surface. There's so much more that we're there to accomplish. I mean, I'm blown away. I was super excited with we have a little boy, and we didn't have a kid when Barack was in office, but when now seeing the light in a different version, like that next generation, seeing it gleam when I see Kamala as vice president and seeing just like what the potential is. I was watching this other documentary, right, and they're talking about like the nation, continent of Africa and all the nations. Imagine if all the talent was still in Africa that was capable, that's left over the years, forcefully or willingly, and just like think about what that would be. That continent would have been like, it would really be like Wakanda. And I just think that's like Black excellence. You know what I mean? I don't know if this makes sense, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
What you got to add to that, Em?
I don't know. I'm like, let me just cut my camera off, Stephen. First off, I just want to say I'm so proud of you and the community of just amazing people that you let the Lord lead you and guide you, maybe not knowing what was ahead, but you went for it and you leaned into your courage. And I hope you don't I hope you bask in that today, because now you have a community of trailblazers like myself. And I also want to say thank you to Shawn, because I would never be a part of your community. You would never be Big Brother if Shawn didn't introduce us. And then also Annette, I met Annette through you, and Donald. I know we're cousins, so we haven't met yet, but I just want to say I'm so proud of you. You're one of the hardest working men I know. And I would say that Black excellence is all things Black, right? Black excellence is not a monolith. Every Black person has a role to play in this ecosystem to help advance us and push us forward. And that's what I love about Trailblazers. You have so many different Black individuals from all walks of life, right? And when I think about the excellence that we all hold, because Black people ask themselves, what if we went and tried and do this, right? What could we accomplish? And that is Black excellence. And if you were George Washington Carver to Sojourner Truth to, Barack Obama, we all have a role to play in pushing us. And we are the evidence, right? We are the evidence of our ancestors, and the excellence that we convey today, we're the evidence for the next generation, to Donald's point. And so let's keep pushing each other. Let's keep asking ourselves what if, and let's keep blazing that trail.
Yes, I love that. I'm coming back to that in a second, but there's a thought, that I've been stewing on, and it's around the society. We sometimes get so wound up on the idea of growing our influence, right? Everybody's all about that following and growing that the amount of likes. And one of me and Donald's favorite reggae artists is Chronix. He says, I don't do it for I do it for the love. I don't do it for the likes. And something that's so much more important to me than the influence is the impact, right? Mm-hmm. And in each of you, I've seen so much growth over the past 4 or 5 years. I've seen your influence grow. But what I love about each of you is your impact, the impact you're having on your respective communities. And so I'm going to ask you, do you agree on that? Is impact greater than influence, and why? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tee this back up to Minda, because I have had the pleasure of having my popcorn in hand and watching, what I feel like, 2 years ago, I said, Minda, this thing is going to be a slow, steady groundswell, and yes, you absolutely have grown influence, right? Your following has exploded over the last year and a half. But what I love, Minda, is more than that, is to see the Black women and even white men that you've been able to impact by way of the work you're doing with the memo. I obviously know what you guys are going to say, but I want your thoughts on that from your vantage point.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen, and thank you for your kind words. It's all about the impact. Like, that's what keeps me going. That's the mission fuel, because this work isn't easy, right? It's not all accolades and blue check marks. I mean, you got to actually do the work. And so if I'm not making an impact in the stuff that I get to do each and every day, then it doesn't mean as much, because part of being a part of the, lexicon of Black excellence is knowing that you're benefiting somebody else. Somebody is benefiting from what you're doing. And the moment that no one's benefiting from what I'm doing, that's the moment I want you to send me a WhatsApp and be like, okay, girl, sit down somewhere. But so for me, that's what fuels me. That is my mission fuel. And I keep that front and center everything I do. And I'm just so appreciative that, again, we get to push each other. And again, that's part of the Black excellence, right? Even when we make a mistake, even when we fail, but reminding ourselves that, well, what about the impact, and asking ourselves, what if we keep going? And so very honored to be able to impact even just one person with the work that I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. Shawn, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, when you talk about influence, impact, I think of the quote from Maya Angelou about people may forget what you said and they may forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And for me, I just really think that impact and the difference, like influence kind of wanes, but impact makes a dent. And when I think about, when I'm gone, will the world have been a better place, right? Because I have existed, right? And I think of impact. I think all of us have something that's a greater inside of us that we are trying to push out, right? And sometimes we can't push it out alone. And I think that impact allows us, when we're having an impact in somebody's life, is that sometimes we're able to help them see the divinity, the spirit, the goodness in them that they can't see in themselves, right? And I also think that what's really important, what I love about what you created, and I'm going to describe Minda, I think impact happens in community, the multiplier effect, and your ability to build community and bring folks together where the sum of the parts are greater than the whole, right? And so for me, that's what impact is, right? If, we all left this earth today, will people remember that we were here? Will we be missed?
And it's our DK. You want to add to that?
Sure. So just last night, or I think the night before, I came across a quote that resonated with me and that essentially aligns with what I feel about impact. And it says that you should be somebody who makes everybody feels like somebody. And that is kind of the mantra that I live by, that if you encounter me, you should feel, first of all, that you're human and you're respected, and that I want the best for you, and that I mean well, and I'll do whatever it is to help you feel the best and to do your best. And so you'll always find me most often in a supporting role. I'm that person, with the pom pom and the and the flag waving you on, because I feel that each of us as individuals, we have value, and I get really irked when we try to make other people feel like they don't have value. And so I'm often in a position where I'm rooting for the underdog and fighting for you, because I think if you encounter me, you should feel that Annette made me feel good, Annette made me feel like somebody, Annette made me feel like I had value, and she helped me to shine. So obviously I feel that impact, whether it be in a corner or quietly or in a small way, is more important, because you can give somebody $1 million, for instance, they'll be grateful, they'll thank you, they'll move on. But if they don't feel something, like you actually value them, because you can give people money because you want to be seen for giving people money, for example. But if you were only able to give them $1 and it made a significant difference, in their lives, I think the impact is more important than the influence.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, yeah. Just like as you know, Stephen, one of the terms that's been permeating in my mind for a while is the term legacy. And what I started to focus on was, how could what's going to be when it's all said and done? When I've shared this one all the time. It's like, I wanted that my wife and my kids and my cousins and aunts and uncles, I want people to say years later, I don't want, it's not Donald was a good man. I want to hear that something that I was able to help make their life better. Really, I mean, I don't want TSE, my business, to be the front and center. I want to hear that my kids and that multiple generation. I'm looking at generational wealth in two sense. One in the sense of financial, but also in the sense of just the individuals making impact upon the world that we live in. And obviously, for that reason, I would go with impact in the lives of others. And that doesn't necessarily have to be anything huge, but just like if my neighbor, and nothing famous about it, but my neighbor can say that I helped to influence their life, and they were able to help influence somebody else's life in the impacting the world around us. I think that way impact and influence are married, but I think impact obviously is greater, if I'm making that's clear.
Yeah, I love that. Yesterday I was listening to and we're talking about impact, and I'm thinking of how we move into 2021, right? Yesterday I was listening to my pastor, and it came up where he kind of used this he shared a thought, right, that we often can't use old strategies in a new season, right? That we have to shift. We have to shift towards a different way of approaching what's ahead as we look forward. And so in light of COVID and just a change in all sides of really the world, right? US definitely is having its impact, but globally, I think we're looking at a generational shift forward. And so, how are we as Black folk, shifting? What strategies, are we employing to look to win 2021 and to impact others? How are we, imparting wisdom to the young grasshoppers coming up behind us? For me, this is it, right? Trailblazers has been a podcast, audio only, for so many years, and I reluctantly wouldn't get outside, the box, if you will, and interview, do these conversations via video, so I could share in seeing who I was talking to, but still was challenged to publish these videos. And so, one of the things I am looking at is that, hey, we live in Zoom calls all day, every day now, right? And that's the way of the world. And I don't think things are shifting back to the way they were. And so to embrace this new season, I'm making a shift. I'm committing to, through all the struggles that are on my plate, to doing LinkedIn Lives a whole ton more, to doing live streaming in general a whole ton more. So in addition to the podcast, I'm claiming right now that you'll see, Trailblazers.fm become .tv and whatever else, there is in the years to come. But any thoughts along that line? Is there anything that's speaking to you right now in this season? I know Shawn's about to join Minda in the best-selling author category here. I'm claiming that in the name of Jesus.
And I am receiving that, Stephen. And it's interesting. Self-awareness is so important, and understanding what season you are in, right, and what season I am in. And I do know that I am kind of in an intermission season between what I'm calling like my second act of my journey into my third act. And many folks know at the end of last year, we sunsetted CBMA, the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. And the shift was not just CBMA, but let's look at the last 30 years of my life. And I've been asking myself, what is it that's mine to do in this season, God? What are you calling me to do? And, last year and watching and seeing all the disruption beyond certainly COVID-19 and the pandemic, but the continued racial injustice and looking at the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and so many. I liken historically, in 1955, the murder of Emmett Till. And thank God Mamie Till, his mom, said, you know what, we're going to show the world what hate and oppression in America did to my son, right? And thank God for Ebony and folks and Jet Magazine and platforms like that. And I really believe what we saw in 2020 was the ignition of a modern day a movement, right? And gave it an acceleration. And so for me, figuring out now, what is it mine to do? And so I'm kind of in a still moment, a cooning and pruning moment, pushing the book out, which is due in May. I Too Am America on loving and leading Black men and boys. And one of the things I have been journaling and getting still about is stopping seeking relevance and looking for and listening for revelation, right? And you can get caught up in doing, performing. And I am in a season now of like, all right, you're still, you got work to do, and what is it next for you to do after you publish the book? For your people, not just for me, for my people.
I love it. Yeah. We talked about it being Black History Month, and part of blazing a trail, right, is leaving a mark, right? You're leaving a mark. One, you're carving that, you're blazing that trail, you're carving a path forward, but in the process, it's not just for you, right? You're leaving a trail behind you for others to come, pick up and keep going. Who are you picking up from, right? Like who has inspired you to this point that you feel like, you know what, I need to pick this up, right? And keep it moving. And anybody can jump in here. I know Minda is a big advocate of that lady behind her.
Yes, that lady behind me, for those who might just be listening, is Shirley Chisholm. And also, you can't really see it, but on the other side is Harriet Tubman. And I often, I gain my thoughts, my inspiration, the fortitude to keep pushing forward, because so many more people benefit when you're courageous, right? So those moments that I'm feeling like cautious, I think about the women, Black women who came before me, and I am a direct beneficiary of their courage. So how am I going to deposit that into somebody else? And for me, I also am in a season similar to Shawn. Online, you might see me very active, but I'm also having that time where I invest in so many people that sometimes I forget to invest in myself. And so I'm saying yes to less and being more intentional about the things I say yes to, and start to remember that our dreams keep evolving, right? And so there's some some dreams that I have interest in, and so I've started to one thing is take a screenwriting class, because I've always had an interest in writing for Black women in stories. And so I've been taking a class at UCLA online. And so, those are the things: thinking forward, thinking legacy, thinking longevity.
Love it. Good stuff. Any other past trailblazers that come to mind that just lift you up and kind of inspire you as we're in the season of Black History Month and this being trailblazers?
I think that it's easy to say our ancestors, and it is true, as Minda said, But I was reflecting, I think maybe a month ago on, for instance, Minda and others in the Trailblazers community. And one of the things that I like about Trailblazers.fm is that it tells the stories of our Black people who are, successful leaders. And the mantra is that it provides knowledge, resources, and tools to blaze your trail. And each episode, we are challenged to take one action to blaze our trail. And so for me, I'm a pretty practical person, really pragmatic. And I feel that if we listen to Trailblazers on every Monday, and how many episodes that all these people have given us of their experience, they're essentially telling us that we can take the baton and we can do the same thing. And so last year, my word for the year was louder, because if you know me, I'm a pretty quiet soul, kind of move beneath the waters, but I pledged that I was going to get louder, and I did. And so, again, this year, my new word is resonance, because I feel that along with getting louder, when you connect with people and you make that impact, at some point in time, you will resonate and you'll achieve resonance. And I think I owe it to the however many hundreds of trailblazers on trailblazers.fm who keep pouring into me, who are essentially my mentor and a boss, to say, I've been telling you this, like every week you get something, act on it. It's as simple as that. If we never heard another episode of Trailblazers, we've gotten a lifetime of fuel to do something. And I think we can get stuck in that learning and inspiration phase and motivation phase. But at some point in time, if we really honor what we've been given, the next step is actually taking action. As Shawn always says, stop stalling on
Stop
your
stalling on the calling.
And just jump in.
And jump in, exactly.
And just jump in. And I appreciate you saying that, because as I think about the people who came before us, sometimes we focus so much on the famous people that we don't realize that there are many people who came before us who are obscure, right? Like who don't get that light. No one really knows who they are, and they made that impact. One of the people who made a great impact, and in many ways has had a light shone on him, but I still think probably needs an even greater one, is Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And I had the pleasure of having a conversation with him a couple years ago, and actually in Black History Month. We shared that episode, and I remember Dr. Kimbrough talking about the fact that, hey, you know what, we only get about 30,000 days on this earth, right?
Yeah.
We only get about 30,000 days, and what are we gonna do, right? With that time that we're given. And so, if you're listening right now, or you're listening to this on a replay, whether you're on the front side or the back end of that, I think this past year has taught us that time isn't promised to any of us, right? Tomorrow is not promised. The rest of today isn't promised. So many of us either know or have family who have, passed in the past year, right? Due to the pandemic. And so I am just going to echo what Dr. Kimbrough said, and just be a reminder, right, that clock is what that clock is so powerful, right? That clock is why we get excited to watch a game. We're not watching a Super Bowl because it's Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady. That's exciting, but it's not as exciting as when we get down into the fourth quarter and there's 2 minutes left on the clock, and it's who's going to win this game in that time. We're watching the clock. And so, 2021, guys, what are we going to do? That clock is ticking, whether we choose to live in the frustration of COVID, and maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost a family member. right now, as I'm talking to you on the other side of this screen, my dad's laying in a bed, getting up dizzy, dealing with the issues of a stroke. But I'm turning on these lights right now, not in the room, but spotlights right on me, and we're making this happen, right? So, what will you make happen today, this week, this month, this year? How will you continue to not only try to get the likes, but to look back behind you as you're blazing your trail and find a way to pull another young black grasshopper up behind you and show them the way, as Donald did for me. And by way of him doing that, allowed me to meet these other 3 lifelong friends of mine. So in natural trailblazer fashion, I'll wrap this up. We're at the 45-minute mark, and I'll just invite each of you to share, what's one action that or Blazer Nation should take this week that you think will help them to blaze a trail in this coming year. VK, you want to kick us off as you did on episode 1?
I think one of the things that I would encourage people to do is journal, because there are so many things that we shared today, so many insights, so many great things that was passed down. If you go back through, all of your episodes, 200 plus episodes, I mean, there's so much that you can get from it. The question is, how many go back to what Shawn's, messages, how many of us are acting on what those things that we've learned, right? I mean, even for instance, one of your most popular episodes, how many of us acting on creating that estate plan, creating that generational wealth for our family that's coming after us? I would say write down, maybe just journal some of the most impactful things you learned from this panel or anything that you learned from Stephen talk. Just take 30 minutes today. And then what I would want you to do from that is look and see which one of those things, just pick one that you can start doing now. Just one of those things. So if you journal that today, tonight, tomorrow, you can then act on one of those things. But I think it's important that we keep, that we don't forget. And one of those best ways that we can remember is by writing and by taking down these insights. I don't want what you share to go not. I want them to take it, live it, most importantly, act on it. Don't get overwhelmed by everything, but just start by doing something. You didn't get to episode 200 until you did episode number 1. And I think that's a critical piece.
Love it. Minda Harts.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead, Shawn.
Well, I was going to dovetail, no pun intended. Oh, pun intended. Because he lifted up the journaling, which is a significant part of my life, my personal and spiritual development, and have been doing it since my teenage years. And so self-compassion and self-care is something that I would lift up immediately as one thing that you can do. But to follow the thread of the journaling, there are, when you have your journal, answer these 5 questions. Spend some time alone. And the first question is, what are you doing about your purpose? The second question is, what are you doing about your power, right? The third question, spend some time writing about what are you doing about your privilege? And we all have some privilege, right? Even as a Black man, right? And my gender and just where I am able to have internet, right? And us to be able to work from home is privilege. Then the fourth question is spend some time writing about what are you doing about your pride? And the fifth question, and sometimes the most profound, is what are you doing about your pain, right? And I would lift up therapy, and just before I pass it on, one of the things I really appreciated, Stephen, last year when you talked about going into your silent season and elevating, being vulnerable, and even coming back and having guests talking about mental health and wellness and well-being is so really important, right? Because we can have $1 billion, but if we don't have our well-being and our health and peace of mind, what good does it do us?
Mm-hmm.
So true. So true. Annette.
Sure. To continue on the theme that Donald and Shawn started, I would say express yourself. And I say that because one of the things that in dealing with anybody that I harp on is that you should know your value. And if you don't know your value, I'll help you, to see that. I'm a strong believer in that everybody has value and everyone has a unique contribution to make. And one of the stumbling blocks that I find in these days is that because there are so many experts and so many people doing so many things very well, other people feel intimidated, that they have to meet a standard or they have to pass through a gatekeeper, they have to do certain things a certain way. Well, I'm saying forget the gatekeepers. You don't need a permission. The gatekeepers are dead. The World Wide Web has given the globe at your fingertip. And find a way after you've done your journaling, after you've taken your notes, after you've thought about the 5 questions that Shawn has just said, find a way to express yourselves and just start small. You have a contribution to make, and there's no reason why that contribution should be hid. So know your value and find your voice and then express it. There are no gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are dead.
Like that.
I love it. I'll wrap this up. Shawn touched on something, and I've shared it, a couple times here on the podcast. A year ago, January was probably my darkest episode on this podcast. Where after 205 consecutive weeks of publishing an episode, couldn't go anymore, right? Couldn't go anymore. Recorded that episode on my iPhone on voice memo, laying on the floor in my dad's living room in Jamaica, falling apart, right? Had a stroke, had his first stroke. And last year was tough. And I came back on, and there's an episode in September I shared with Karen Millsap, where, we talked about that journey. If you're not familiar with, my path, I encourage you to listen to that episode. And I've been very vocal since then about my challenge with mental health. I did something, just last week, even talking about, how I've had to cope through anxiety and panic attacks in this season. And one of the things I realized through doing so is so many people have reached out to me privately by way of direct messages in this season to say, I appreciate you. And I'm going through the exact same. And you're speaking to something I'm experiencing right now. So I know at the sound of my voice, there's somebody who is struggling, who is battling through that anxiety, who is, and this is impacting, we talk about impact. This is impacting your life. You may be married, you may have children, even if not, you're impacting those around you, your coworkers. I encourage you to take care of you. I encourage you today to handle, to let go of the pride, to let go of the taboo of, not talking about, mental health, or not talking about what you might be feeling. As Black men, I know, not only can I, talk about it, but there are people like Donald and Shawn who, are brothers who I can, pick up the phone or send a text or a voice note at any point in the day. And there's no judgment. And so I encourage us as brothers, especially, because I think, Black men, we have a level of pride that we don't want to let go of this mask, right? And our brother Jason Wilson has a great book that you should definitely consume, called cry like a man, right?
Yeah.
But my calling card to you today, that one action is not, we say take it one day at a time. And I challenge that. I challenge that and I say take it 1 hour, one step at a time. Right? 1 hour, one step at a time. So that said, I just want to, once again, just appreciate you guys for being with me, for celebrating, 5 years of Trailblazers, and I hope that we're here for 25, 30 more, right? And that at some point somebody picks up the baton, and maybe Layla Hart will come behind me and pick up the baton and keep this platform going for us. So God bless you guys. I appreciate you so very much for your love and your support, and just wish you guys the very best. That's totally fine. That's the perfect way to close out, because that's I love it.
Congratulations, Stephen. Just your courage rubs off. I just want you to know, right? It's rubbed off on me in ways that you don't even know. So thank you, brother.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys big time.
Thank you, Stephen.
Here's to another 5.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Here's to Kelly, who's another Shawn, intro, who I met through Rumble. And, big up to all the people who have left comments today in the threads. And Blazer Nation is strong. I appreciate you. Love you guys. Hope you guys stick with us through this year. And definitely subscribe and follow me on LinkedIn if you're not yet doing so. Again, I'm determined to double down on my my impact within LinkedIn for Black business professionals. And so reach out to me. Let me know, what else you want from us in the next 5 to come. How can we help you to blaze your trail and to impact your respective communities? So God bless you guys. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Nice to see you,
everybody.
Bye-bye.